Good evening. Microphone. Good evening, and welcome to the special joint meeting of the Planning Commission and the Design Review Committee on Thursday, March 13th, 2025. I now call the meeting to order at 6:04 p.m. Lisa, could we have the roll call, please?
Chair Jacobson Bates.
Here.
Melissa Bates.
Here.
Vice Chair Boyd.
Here.
Committee Member Goods.
Here.
Committee Member Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Peterson.
Here.
Commissioner Sparks-Gillis.
Here.
Commissioner Ziegler.
Here.
Vice Chair Adler absent. Chair Williams.
Here.
Thank you.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Bill, would you lead us, please?
Ready? Cross your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we have just one item on the agenda tonight. It's a discussion item. Could we get the staff report on this, please?
Thank you, Chair Williams. There's no staff report other than what we've given you on sort of the background information for this workshop this evening. Can we pull up PowerPoint, please? So before you this evening is a Signs of Design workshop for actually everybody. You should have a cell phone. If you could get it out, that'd be great, because there's a QR code that's sitting on there. And so this is very much a participation-led effort. So we're going to use our cell phones for something. I encourage the crowd to do the same thing. So grab your cell phones. There's a QR code. Take a picture there of the QR code. And this is how we're going to do a participatory workshop. So there's a couple ways to do it. First one is taking a picture of that QR code that is on your screen. The second way to do it is follow that web link. It's go to menti.com and enter the code 42086809. Or again, scan the QR code. There's also a Verilog web link on there. I'll leave it up for you. And I'm just going to, ask the first question. So our first question is this. So what do we love about Solvang? So again, this is a participatory workshop. We're going to go over topics. So the point of order is we'll go over the topics, and after each topic, we're going to have a discussion amongst the members, and then open it up for people to come and talk. But at the same token, we have things that are interactive here and utilizing technology here to basically get folks to engage. So again, if folks are watching out in the internet, you most certainly could do the same thing, but this gives us an idea, and I'm really encouraging that you participate, because this is one way of getting your say in, is telling us, taking a poll or describing a certain topic. There'll be a quiz. So, again, the whole point is to solicit participation from not only you, the DRC, but the Planning Commission as well. So, as you can see here, we've got 19 responses so far. This is real time, if you want to go to the screen.
The question, did you shoot the QR code?
And what do you do?
It takes you to a space. One word only? Could you define that, Raphael? What do you love about Solvang? One word or just enough characters to fill the line?
Phrase, word, be my guest.
Okay.
There's space for 3 responses, so you could put 3 separate responses
Okay.
there.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Help.
So again, that's the QR code. It should take you to a web page in a landing. If you want to go grab your phone, that'd be great. Oh, you don't even have it with you. If you share a link, it means you can only participate once. So. All right. So, again, why are we here? So we'll get to your responses in a minute. I'll let you guys fill that in. But we're here for two reasons. One is back in November 12th, we took we did a survey back in summer 2024 that included, we reached out to all the businesses in the city of Solvang to encourage them to take a survey. And we brought those results back to the city council with sort of a list of items about potential sign ordinance amendments. And so we were requested at then to hold a workshop for that. So that's why we're here. That's one reason why we're here. The second one was as a part of the 2024 zoning ordinance amendments, City Council also directed staff to complete a workshop to go over a specific aspect of the objective design standards in the R3 zone. And we will cover that as well today. So again, here's what we are covering. We are covering the objective design standards with the R3 lots. And the main question we're going to ask is, how do we make control with DRC input over new projects? So there's a litany of new state laws that are out, and we recognize that we need to go through objective standards. So that's a question we're going to ask this evening. The second one is what we have termed an incorporation design handbook. What do we want to see in that, including potential use of approved color palettes, and how do we want to see that? The next set of questions are really diving into our sign code. Do we want to use A-frame signs and sandwich board signs within the village or within the city? So that was a question that we specifically asked the city council, and this specifically asked for a workshop back. The next one is additional temporary signage, and we'll get into what that looks like and what that is. And again, these two primary questions are stemming from the feedback we received from our businesses in the summer of 2024. And finally, elimination of content-based regulation or replacement with objective standards when it comes to signs. And so, as many in the DRC know, we've had this discussion quite often about our content-based regulations and how we can replace those with objective standards due to case law. So again, one more chance if you haven't done it yet. This is the QR code, and we'll flip back really quick to what everyone said on the first question.
Yeah.
It should be right there on the screen if you want to try it one more time.
Okay, never mind.
No? Okay.
Just assume I'm 90 years old and I don't have a phone and I don't know how to use it.
All right.
And there are those in the community.
Yeah, I understand that, which is why we're doing both here. Good chance to talk, but also participate. So here are the 49 responses, and it's a lot of responses. So the way a word cloud works is as long as a word gets frequently used more and more often, it means the word becomes bigger and bigger. So this is sort of a warm-up, essentially. Hello, friendly, quaint, community, architecture, history, Danish. Those are sort of the big highlights. But also out there is small and safe, beautiful, Danish small town, food and wine. As you can see, there's more responses are coming through. Old world charm. So again, this was sort of a warm-up to get people to think about our community. And we're going to go on to the next question. And the question was, and it's a quiz. So which of the following statements are objective standards? So I'm going to read out these statements so you can see them on your phone. Front yard setback consistent with the character of the neighborhood. Is that an objective standard? Minimum front setback between 6 and 10 feet. Is that an objective standard? Setback shall be minimum distance feasible to protect and preserve property values. Is that an objective standard? Or side setback shall be determined by the Planning Commission based on findings. Is that an objective standard? So 6 people have logged in. 7, 8. I know, it's fun, isn't it? Give a couple more minutes. It is not a yes or no question. It's using our thoughts here. Give a couple more minutes or a couple more seconds. And the answer is actually the ones, folks that did the 73%, you are correct. Minimum front setback between 6 and 10, that's an objective standard. And so that is what's considered a quantifiable standard. That means anybody can go out with a tape measure, and if told the rhyme and reason for way something gets measured, we can quantify that. That's an objective standard. The other three phrases, 6% and the other 213s, those are actually were in our code. they've been removed. So as a part of the 2024 zoning ordinance update. And again, becoming objective. So that's sort of the key to remember is we're trying to become objective. So it was sort of an exercise to get us thinking of objective standards, and specifically we had, as a part of the 2024 zoning ordinance update, we had a lot of confusion about residential properties in the village mixed use in the design district. So the red line that you see on your screen is the properties that were included as a part of the village design district. So originally these properties were left out of the design district. As a part of the Planning Commission recommendation in June of 2024, the Planning Commission elected to recommend that these properties be placed in, and the recommendation was so that it will look very similar between the blocks, and we'll get into that in a minute. So what that means is so currently these set of R3 properties, and R3 for those that don't know is high density residential, and we do have a few vacant pieces of property. These require, so currently the way our objective standards are set, they require these properties to develop similarly in design to the adjacent properties. So those adjacent properties are some hotels across the street and hotels to the east, and then not so much to the west. So again, with the inclusion of residential in the design districts, objective standards was extremely critical to be in place. And the reason is below is there's in the late teen aughts, the state of California changed what was called the Housing Accountability Act. And it stated that the city cannot deny a project or condition a project in such a way that would require it to be developed at a lower density. So that's one of the primary drivers of having and us codifying these objective standards in the village. The second is a project that would have a specific adverse impact on public health or safety that is based on objective, identifiable public health and safety standards is basically the only way you could deny a residential project. So again, if the intent was to have these R3 properties in sort of the mix to be designed just like its neighboring properties, that is the genesis of why we have the objective standard. So essentially a city is unable to deny or condition a project based on subjective standards. And this is specifically referring to residential projects only, not a mixed-use project that is majority commercial with a few residential units, or say a mixed-use project that has 51% commercial and 49% residential. We still have the ability to be subjective, at least for the time being. But if a mixed-use project has 51% residential or more of the gross floor area, then it has to be objective. So these are a couple things you want to keep in mind. So
Throughout the city or the village?
the village for now, and then specifically when we're talking residential, it's districts that's meant to have residential, so that would apply too. So again, we're going to go and back in, before we take the quiz, so this is a picture of what's there today. And so the picture on the north is the hotel with our Danish look. You got and then we have essentially a fourplex, but it's actually individual units there. It's in the background and foreground. Currently, there's one cottage sitting there. There's a proposed or potential development that's in where that property is, where you see that one single cottage. And then on the image below is a hotel and a project that was recently completed is 6 short-term rental units. So again, that kind of gives you the look and the feel of this street. And so it makes sense that was the genesis of the comments to put those residentials into the design district, and therefore basically have the aesthetic look of the old world Danish design. So we're going to go on. Now that we have set up, there's a question for everybody. This or that. So on your phone, there's a question. So the picture on your left-hand side is no objective standard. And this is actually an image from what was originally the 425th Street project, the original iteration of it. Boxy design, Anywhere USA, But if we took out those R3 lots, there would be no objective standard. Image on your right is actually the first iteration of 539 Alisol. Now, it did change color-wise, but it gives you an idea of what those lots would look like if it had to meet our current existing objective standard that is in place today that was approved back in December. So, has everybody voted? Sorry, I got to jump back and forth. I should have popped for the program. So, the majority of folks, 100% even, wanted the other look. And so again, this is a thinking exercise before we dive into the discussion to ask ourselves if that's what we want for this block, if that's what we want for something that is internal to this block alone, because there was a lot of confusion at that council meeting about what the design district means, what the objective standard means, and again, the objective standard is the starting point, and it's always has been that starting point, and it's sort of morphed as we've went along through, how we go about doing the objective standard. So, again, these represent a starting point. The city can require a Danish design element through the objective standards, which is what we're doing today. It's what's been codified today. And if the goal of the general plan is to have these residential lots have a design consistent with Solvang Village area, this can only be done through the application of objective design standards. If we want to remove them, then it's a free, we have no objective standards in our high density or medium density. We don't have objective standards yet for our residential, but we did for our village. So that's something to keep in mind. So we were asked, we tasked as a part of the December, the second reading, we came up with 3 sort of bullets to have this discussion, and I'm going to throw it out here, and then we'll do a quiz, and then we're on to discussion. But the 3 options are as follows. We can amend the general plan and zoning ordinance to remove the R3 lots. We could do that. That was one of the things that were thrown out at the city council meeting by a couple speakers. We most certainly can. But as demonstrated in the slides, is that something we really want to do? Another item that was thrown out is repeal the objective standards altogether. As I've mentioned before, it's a starting point. We can refine our code as we go along and as we see fit. As a matter of fact, in our last DRC meeting, Chair Bates made a comment about colors. That actually was a striking one, because it's looking at colors in context, and how do we do that in an objective standard? Well, there's a way we can do it, which means we'll need to amend it if we want to do that. And so it's a reminder that our code isn't set in stone like it's been set in stone for the last 30 plus years here, because no one's wanted to toy with it. Another option is to amend specifically table 11.7 to allow up to 49% of the gross floor area to residential uses for all uses. That was a suggestion thrown out there. There may be one issue with that. If you do that to every single building, it basically takes away the flexibility of our existing property owners to potentially convert and upstairs vacant offices or spaces that don't function in our current economy or economy of the future. It doesn't give that property owner flexibility. Is that something we want to see? The whole point of the general plan, and the reason why we had a GPAC and fought so hard, was to really champion infill design. But by doing that, if we were to limit all uses to only 49% of the gross floor area, while we accomplish the control that we're looking for, we essentially are taking away a tool of infill and a tool from